They say blood is thicker than water, but what happens when your blood carries screams? I never believed in inherited guilt. I thought ghosts belonged to houses, not names. That was before the letters arrived, before the faces I saw in mirrors started blinking out of sync, before I learned who I really was. It arrived in a yellowed envelope, its edges frayed like it had clawed its way through time. No sender, no stamp, just a name. Mine scrawled in a trembling hand. Inside, a brittle page reeked of mildew and something else, ... Ash, perhaps. It read, "You were never meant to know, but they've found you. The house is calling. Do not look into the mirror at night." That same night, I began to dream in a language I didn't know. Dreams of corridors lit by candlelight, of children whispering beneath floorboards, of a name I'd never heard. Mirel, tracing the name, led me to an abandoned property listed under an old family trust, one that apparently belonged to my great-grandmother, someone my family never mentioned, not once. Public records revealed she had been institutionalized in 1927. After a series of unfortunate disturbances. What those were, the records didn't say. But her house remained untouched, sealed away with rusted chains and religious wards burned into the doorframe. I went anyway. The cottage was swallowed by the woods. It didn't sit on land so much as it bled from it. Ivy strangled the windows. The front door had collapsed, leaving an opening wide enough for something to crawl out. Inside, everything was frozen in time. Teacups still on the table, a rocking chair gently swaying, and a series of portraits, all women, all staring, all identical to me. In the back of the hallway, a mirror stood, tall, ornate, cracked in its center. I didn't look, not yet. It started small. The smell of burning paper in a room with no fire. My phone playing back recordings I never made. Whispers behind curtains. Then the mirror, HUMMED. In its fractured reflection, I saw the house behind me as it used to be, clean, lively, and someone sitting in the rocking chair, smiling. She looked exactly like me, except for her eyes, which were wide, bleeding, and mouthing words I couldn't hear. That night, I woke up with old bruises on my wrists. Research deepened. Old obituaries, unmarked graves. I wasn't the only one visited. Everyone who descended from Morel experienced episodes, psychotic breaks, disappearances, unexplained deaths. They called it the silent bloom, a phrase whispered by a family priest before hanging himself in 1965. He wrote in his final note, "When the bloom returns, the blood sings again. The house opens." It happened on the 7th day. I looked into the mirror and blinked, but the reflection didn't. It smiled, a crooked, dry smile, then mouthed something. I recorded it, played it back in slow motion. After noise reduction and analysis, the software detected a single phrase in reverse. "Let me finish what you forgot. We think we know who we are, that our lives are entirely ours. But our roots drink from rivers older than memory. What we bury doesn't rot, it waits. There are houses that creak, houses that groan, but this one, ... this one listens." I returned to the cottage with tools and courage I pretended to have. There was one door I hadn't opened, a small one at the farthest end of the hallway, nailed shut, salt piled along the threshold. I removed the nails one by one. Inside was a nursery, a broken cradle, Drawings in crayon on the walls, crude stick figures, all with bleeding red eyes. One word scribbled over and over again: écoute, French. For listen. A small baby monitor sat in the center of the room. No power, no cord, yet it whispered. The wallpaper was floral, peeling, faded. But when I turned the lights off, faint shapes emerged beneath the design. Eyes, dozens, all looking inward. I followed their gaze to a hole in the wall. Inside, I found a bundle of teeth wrapped in black lace, and something breathing, not loudly, just enough to make the silence lean. That night, I found one of the portraits downstairs, torn. The version of me in the frame now missing its eyes. The cellar door was hidden under a rug soaked through with something sticky and dark. It led to stone stairs, narrow, damp at the bottom, jars each filled with hair, teeth, fingernails. One was labeled with my name, another with the name Lucien, the twin Mireille had allegedly absorbed in the womb. I turned. There was a man in the corner, or what had once been one, wrapped in chains, head cocked sideways, smiling. He said nothing, just raised one trembling finger to his lips, then vanished. Back home, I received a voicemail. A child crying, screaming in French. Maman. Elle revient. Translation, Mum. She's coming back. She's coming back. The call came from my own number. Time stamped 2 days before I was born. I listened again. Slower. There was another voice underneath. Guttural, wet, repeating. A name, Lucien. I confronted my mother. At first denial, then a breakdown, she confessed. Mireille had a child no one spoke of, a twin that didn't survive the birth. But Mireille claimed the child did survive on the other side. She would speak to mirrors, to radios, to jars. The family tried to bury the story, but every generation since had one who cracked, one who heard Lucien, one who was taken. Neighbors near the cottage started reporting sightings. A woman standing in the window, smiling. Sometimes she waved. No one lived there. The property was sealed. Yet, when I checked, the curtains were drawn differently each time. Inside, a single footprint, barefoot, small. Facing the mirror, I placed a camera. What I saw the next day was impossible. Myself, sleeping inside the house. But I had never gone. Not physically, I returned, once more, to the nursery. The baby monitor now played something louder, lullabies, in reverse. The mirror now had no reflection at all. Just a dark tunnel behind the glass. As I approached, I heard a child humming, and a voice like mine, but not you shouldn't have remembered. Then silence, and in the silence breath, cold on my neck. The house no longer stands, but I still hear the stairs creak. I still smell the jasmine rot, and I still wake to the sound of chains dragging across stone. Some places remember you even when you forget them. Memory is not only in the mind, it clings to marrow. It settles in silence, and when awakened, it bleeds. After my last visit, I began coughing blood. At first I thought it was stress. Then came the markings, shapes on my arms that mirrored the same symbols I had seen carved into the nursery wall. I returned to the diary. The pages I hadn't dared touch before were now wet. New ink had appeared. A message. You carry her still. Lucien never left. I underwent blood work. The results were odd. My markers didn't match any known profile, the doctor said. You have anomalies, DNA sequences not in medical records. almost like twin blood absorbed in utero. The phenomenon was known as chimerism. I was two people, at least. Biologically, I remembered the mirror again, Lucien, the unseen twin. What if she wasn't gone? What if she just lived deeper? In desperation, I contacted a paranormal researcher. He called what I was experiencing a blood broadcast, a phenomenon in which trauma is inherited and reactivated under emotional duress or proximity to spiritual triggers. He called it the haunting of cells. He asked me to recall my childhood, the drawings I used to make. I remembered a girl in a black dress, always standing behind me, no face, always reaching. I agreed to a séance. The medium, an old woman from Alsace, brought only a mirror and a bowl of water. She didn't speak for the first 10 minutes, just stared, then whispered, "Two of you, but only one body. She wants skin." The water turned black. The mirror cracked without being touched. She gasped once, then began convulsing. Afterward, she handed me a note she had scribbled blindly during the fit. It said, "She's learning to use your mouth." I began waking up, with voicemails I never left, texts I never sent, all with the same message: "I'm coming back." One night, I caught a recording of myself, sleep talking, but the voice wasn't mine. It was deeper, younger, and in fluent French. "Thomas Voli, you stole me." I checked the mirror again. My reflection mouthed the words before I spoke them. My mother gave me an old family album. Flipping through, I saw familiar faces, until I reached a photograph of twins. One smiled, the other had her eyes scratched out. My mother insisted, "You were never a twin." But the album told another story. The next morning, the photo was gone, burnt inside the fireplace. Only a single name remained, carved in the soot: Lucien, back in the house. Behind the cellar wall, I discovered a hidden chamber. Symbols everywhere, flesh-colored. Candles, infant shoes arranged in a circle, a diary. This one belonged to Mirel's mother. She wrote of a shadow birth, a child born between, in sleep, during a fever. A child who spoke only in dreams. She warned, she grows when forgotten. She devours what erases her. You cannot disown what's in your marrow. There was also a mirror on the floor, shattered, but in the shards, she was smiling. There are things deeper than memory, carried in every cell, waiting. The past doesn't fade. It ripens, it festers, and then ... it arrives. Mirrors don't reflect the truth. They reflect possession. They show who wants to wear your face the most. After the ritual room discovery, I stopped looking into mirrors, but reflections began appearing elsewhere, in doorknobs, in puddles, in my own eyes, recorded on video. Always a brief flash, someone else blinking after I did. Slight delay, same face. Wrong breath. I smashed every mirror in my home. But that only seemed to give her more places to surface. Buried beneath floorboards in the attic was a journal far newer than Morel's, bound in red leather, pages fresh. The handwriting was my own. It was titled Lucien's Book. The entries described my days, my movements, my thoughts in second person. You lied to the neighbor today. You wanted to scream, but you smiled. I felt it. The last page read, "Soon you'll be the whisper. I'll be the voice." I began losing time, waking in unfamiliar places, smiling at people I didn't recognize, who looked terrified to see me. I found video footage, myself standing still in the hallway, staring into the lens for over an hour. Eyes open, unblinking, not breathing. When I finally moved, I whispered, "Are you watching, Noctum?" People started calling me by another name, Lucy. I corrected them, but the confusion increased. My emails auto-signed themselves as Lucian. My voice recordings reversed themselves, playing her name over and over. Elle est moi, she is me. Even my reflection now laughed when I turned away. The house, though, abandoned, began sending power signals to the city grid. It was alive. Neighbors heard music at night. A child giggling, furniture dragging. One man entered to explore. He never came out. His phone was found on the porch. The last video showed him filming the hallway, approaching a mirror. The reflection was not his, it was mine. I woke up in the cottage, no memory of how I arrived. I was barefoot, bleeding. The mirror was no longer cracked. It was pristine. It showed me only ... She blinked first. She mouthed words I couldn't hear until I pressed my hand to the glass, and she did too. But her fingers were wet on my side. Priest, one of the last living descendants of Morel, contacted me. He said the line must be closed. The reflection must be denied entry. He prepared a ritual of naming, of denial. I had to stand before the mirror and deny her name. But when I spoke, the mirror shattered, and my voice echoed back, but not in my mouth. It came from behind me, from her. There's a limit to what mirrors can contain. When the image pushes harder than the observer, ... something must give. And sometimes, it's your place in the world. When blood forgets its path, it returns to the wound. The wound ... is always waiting. After the failed naming ritual, I lost all orientation. Clocks ran backwards. My speech echoed before I spoke. Mirrors no longer showed reflections, only static, like snow on old TVs. I felt her closer than ever. People started forgetting me. Emails vanished. My voice left no trace on recorders. My own mother didn't recognize me. It was working. She was overwriting me. One night I crossed over, not with a ritual, not with intent, just absence. I blinked and found myself in the mirror version of my home. Reversed, decayed, flooded in amber dusk. No sound, just static in the air. Then I saw her, Lucian, sitting at my desk. Typing. She turned. She was me. But her eyes were pitch black, wet, full of memory. You lived for us. Now I live for me. In that place, things are rewritten. The diary now told her story, how she was the true child, trapped, devoured, and exiled. Morel had tried to birth both, but one had to be forgotten. Luciane was that erasure. Now she rewrote the journals, the photographs, the memories. I watched in real time as my history burned and was rebuilt with her name. I tried anchoring myself with old objects. My first book, my father's music box, a blood sample in my freezer. But she found each one, corrupted them. I tried to speak, my story aloud on video, but when I played it back, her voice spoke over mine, telling her truth and smiling. There was one mirror left, the original Morel's, sealed in the vault below the house. I broke in, lit candles, drew the bloodlines, faced her one last time. She offered a trade. Step in, and I'll let them forget. Let them live in peace, with my name. With my face, you become the echo. And in that moment, I understood. I had already lost. I stepped in now. She lives. Everyone knows her. She writes books. She smiles in photos. She is everything I was, but better, and me. I linger in reflections too fast, in dreams too slow, in recordings that play when no one presses play. Some ghosts were never meant to be laid to rest. Some were never dead to begin with. The past does not haunt us, it replaces us. It wears our skin and lives our life while we fade into stories, like this one.